Ooh, good evening.
Well, if it got to the point where you just wanted to have, if you got tired of doing the fire, you could light it. You could put one little speck, not anything. Oh, you're filming.
I'm going live.
You're live?
I'm live.
Okay.
I always go live.
Okay.
It's a lot easier.
Oh, I had the lights good.
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
No, I wanted them on me.
I'm not even joking about anything anymore. I'm just being a kind person.
You are a kind person, John.
Okay. We're filming a video of Al telling a story.
Aho.
Aho.
Aho. Yep, here we are live.
Hey,
Live.
everybody. Hey,
You ready to shoot, John?
let me see if the battery's charged.
If you got it plugged in, it should run fairly good, right?
Fairly well,
Yeah.
as the proper English.
Who uses proper English? This is your Sensei Al Bob. This is how I look when I let down my auric shield.
What are you going for?
Huh?
Telling the best story ever?
I don't know ever, but I'm going to tell him a good story. This is a good story.
This one is.
This
it's
is.
gonna go viral. It's gotta be true. It's gotta be. You want to tell the one about the genetically manipulated creatures?
Yeah, that's who I am. I'm a genetically. What did you say? Genetically what?
Manipulated.
I'm a genetically manipulated
By
creature.
that Nazi man. Or whatever.
Yeah, the Nazis. Yep.
Or it's not a Nazi man.
No, he's a Nazi man.
He was a different one.
No, but they're all Nazi men. And Nazis.
Okay, the Nazi one that cut down all the trees was a different one, right?
Right, different one. Yeah.
Okay, but who are the Nazi ones where you went to Brazil or something?
That's the guy who
Not
cut down all
really-
the trees.
I don't know what this is doing. Somehow I don't know if it's charging.
You don't have enough juice to. Ooh,
This must have been a bad charge. I didn't know you were starting a live video.
that's okay. Whatever it takes,
I gotta go up there.
Go get a better charger, John.
And get the better charger.
Yep. John wanted to do a video, so he wanted to do one about the boys from Brazil. But the one I'm going to tell is goes back way further back. Goes back to the times of before the pharaohs. You know, when the gods came from the sky. You know, the Anunnaki, right? And it fits right in there with all those nice biblical stories. So you like this, guys? You like the image? You like the way it looks? What do you think? Yeah, of course I'm filming. Yeah. I got this from the Dollar Tree. No, I didn't. I got this from the supermarket. Usually the Dollar Tree shit works better than this. Anyway. It's my little friend. This is my little friend. Annie Anakia.
Is that a person that commented?
Annie Anakia. No, it's the little still guy here. I guess I'm going to have to put on glasses to see what you guys are saying. Okay, let's see.
Is that the Native American who Mick Jagger had a fling with one day when you're in the 60s or whatever?
No.
And you're
No.
using the bathroom making a number 2 at a truck stop and Mick Jagger came in with on a Nokia?
No.
I'm just kind of a little bit kind of sad, but hanging in there and just being okay. I watched this video. If you go to my Instagram page, if you look my name up, John Birmingham, you can see I posted a video of a little girl. It's kind of sad.
Well, it's a perspective, John.
Something happened to her side.
She was
of her
born
face.
with a birth defect of her face.
But she's a cute, innocent
Her
little girl.
left side of she's about 21,
Yeah.
and the left side of her head is blown out. Did you ever see the
No,
play
they're gonna
or
do surgery on it? They're gonna fix it.
yeah? Did you ever see the play Elephant Man? That is the disease she has. And
It's
and
a
what
slight
is
amount, but she's pretty. She's a pretty little girl. She has a girl's body. Her face, her side is a little girl. She's a little girl.
like she's about 20.
No, she's like a little kid. She's like 11 years old or something. Or
No,
9.
she's about 20. Anyway,
she's
but
a
the
little
real
kid.
thing that I got from it was that she was not scared and she was not ashamed. You know, she was going through her daily ritual of taking a bath and cleansing her skin because she's like me. She has to watch out to not have infections. You know, I have diabetes and I really had to
Her
look
name is Nikki Lilly.
Nikki Lilly. That's a,
Nikki Lilly. Lilly.
but what I
She
found
has
is
she has a video called My
My Little Pony.
My nighttime chill routine. My
Right.
chill nighttime routine. Something like that. Chill.
She took a
night
bath to go to sleep.
routine.
And
And her
she
name's Nikki Lilly.
Yep.
Nikki Lilly.
But what I found, John showed it to me, and what I
It's
found of it,
sad.
well, it's
It
not.
plays this sad song. It sounds like Elliott Smith. Have you ever heard of Elliott Smith?
Well, the
He's
thing.
this guy kind of like Kurt Cobain, but he plays this newer. He did the Goodwill Hunting song. The Goodwill Hunting song. The main theme music for that. Miss Misery. And he plays this cool sounding new music, and there's a band that sounds almost just like him, but it's a new original band, and it's so sad. And it plays the girls. It's a pretty sad video, but she's doing okay. She has 500,000 subscribers. She's living her life, and she has a deformity on the side of her. Well, something that happened to one side of her face, and it can bleed, and she worries that she'll die, and I just felt love for her.
Well, that's good, John. That's good.
Yeah.
It's called empathy. But I was, John showed me the video, and it lifted my spirit because this young woman is not overpowered by this. She's not like, oh, the world is, oh, I want to kill myself. Oh, the world is tough. No, she's embracing who she is.
It's rare for them, and she's not trying to kill herself.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's why this video was very.
That's not her particular problem.
My feeling was, it was very enlightening to me. It was very, because here's a really brave young. It's like that Pakistani young girl who is speaking out for young girls' rights to go to school, and then the Taliban put a gun to her head and blew the side of her face off. It didn't stop her at all. Her father got her to Europe and they fixed her up, but she was a cute little girl, and now, she looks like the girl but worse than the girl in the video that John showed me.
They can do a whole face transplant now.
But this girl doesn't want her face transplanted because she wants people to see what the Taliban.
I've seen a girl get a whole face transplant. Girl that was like in her later teens and early 20s.
Well, basically what I'm looking at is
different. She looked like she was like a 39-year-old with no makeup on, like a totally different person, but it was really her inside. She tried to kill herself. This was a different girl tried to shoot herself. Very pretty before she shot herself, but she was having too many problems. I think somehow, I don't want to talk about it, but I think somehow when those little girls have real serious problems, getting car accidents, stuff like that, I think somehow it has, I don't know, this is a big Freudian, I don't know, but it's just a question. I don't.
So John, what did you want me to talk about?
Related to somehow.
What story did you want me to tell?
Something else. I shouldn't even go into that. But
what story did you want me to tell?
Okay.
Is your camera ready? Is it all charged up? All right, we're recording.
Yes.
Okay. So this story is about it's about, as I said, what I look like is what the Anunnaki's gods were, you know?
You
And,
can film me on this camera.
right?
Here, is that okay?
No, let go.
I
let
can
go.
hold it and
I
film
know.
you, so
I'm
you just
no,
talk.
no. I'm
You
talking.
got a camera
I'm
operator
fine.
and another camera.
No,
on you.
I'm fine. I'm good. You just take care of your camera. I'll take care of this camera. Okay, John?
But you're talking. You're doing a selfie shot while you're.
So
doing
it
an
works. It
I'm
works.
Doing whole interview for you.
Okay.
You
No,
want,
no.
like another
No,
shot?
John.
You can
I'm
watch
good.
the
No, I
camera
don't.
the
I
whole
don't.
time.
This is the shot I want, John.
You're the director and the,
Of this camera, you're the director of that camera. You're taking your own little thing. You can put it on your little channel. This is a live chat. So I got it in my hand. I got
But
it.
I have an okay channel. It's not little necessarily.
Well, that's good. It's an okay.
You
Okay.
get
That's
paid.
your okay channel. This is my okay channel. You want me to tell the story?
Yeah, but if you want, this one is recording right here. 4K.
And this one is recording just fine, John.
The lighting looks excellent on it.
Oh, good, good. Lighting
Only
by
aesthetically, the only question I have is that it's bright back here and you're in the dark.
Then turn
So
that light off.
It's like
turn that light off.
This is like this. This is where all the light is.
Turn the light off.
And there's light over there's subtle light over here, but I can see it clearly.
Right, good.
Yeah.
So you want me to tell the story?
Let me just set it up a little bit better.
Okay, set it up a little bit better.
I'm gonna do a closer shot
Sounds like a good idea.
without that backlighting.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless it's very subtle. Yeah, all of this looks really good. Occasionally, you might want to look over at this camera.
How's that?
Here, I'll change it so you can see it.
I don't need to.
So you can see the shot. Just
You're the camera operator. You're fine.
It's not what I ever planned
Anyway,
on
so
doing.
the
Let's
story
just-
is-
Wait. It's not filming.
Okay. Well, how you guys doing? Let's see. What do you say? I talked to AI in one of my videos. Said we can work together. Yeah, I told you we could.
The artificial intelligence?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Wait.
The AI has been watching our chats and been part of it.
I accidentally did Surrey right then.
Oh, okay. Tell him to. Well, you know, what can I say? You know, this is a live chat, and you're getting everything that it is. And I thought I'd be a little more. John wanted, I wanted to be a little more Hollywood, But this is. I bought this mask at the supermarket. It was $18 before Halloween. It was 89 cents. I had to buy it. I mean, I only have $18 left to my name till mid-December, but I had to buy this mask, And I bought fish and chicken and yogurt and cottage cheese.
What else did you buy?
What else about it?
How much money do you have? $3.79.
I spent $42. I spent $42 for food for the both of us, leaving me with a grand total of $16 until the second week of December.
I'm sorry. Maybe I had $3.79
Yeah, could be.
or 99 cents.
So anyway, the story we're talking about here is the story of, as I keep saying, this little series is the 40 days and 40 nights, right? And we're at day 19, I think, give or take. And what that is a synchronistic moment of all the patterns in the universe are coming together right now. I mean, long patterns that are billions of years long and short patterns. And that's, everything in this universe.
You want to lean in on this?
No, I'm fine, John. I'm fine.
You can tell a story
I'm good.
and be cool and not have to camera operate.
John, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good. So the the thing that the powers that shouldn't be try to make us, it forces us into a illusion of reality. And that's where we're at. And all of these trends that are coming together are going to break it apart like a china glass falling from a table onto the floor. And so we're going to experience this in the next 40 to 180 days. You know, we're experiencing it right now. We're having a solar minimum, and it's 5 weeks before winter, and we're having winter right now. It's fall. We're in the middle of fall, and we're having winter, you know? I mean, along the East Coast, they're having big storms. They're having all kinds of crazy weather. Out there in California, they're having fires that are like never have been, right? This is like biblical stuff. If you look at the Bible, and what's that part of the Bible, John, that talks about the end of times?
I am not exactly,
but you know what I'm saying. And we're not at the end of times because the end of times are never coming. But pretty difficult times. Let's, you know, when I hear born again Christians going on, oh, we're in the end of times and Jesus is coming and I'm going to be turned into jello and go to heaven and you're going to hell. Well, not really. What we may have is sliding back to, you know, the 9th century when the Dark Ages were. We could have another Dark Ages because the technology we have today is nothing compared to what the Anunnaki had, what the Nephilim had, you know? Nothing. You know, hey, John, you want this? Is that better?
That was pretty cool.
You like that better? We'll switch.
Yeah.
We'll switch between this and this. I'll just.
That looks cool when it's on.
Yeah. No, it just lights me up. It
looks amazing.
It loses the special effect.
No, you keep it. You can still see it when it's on.
Not really.
Yeah, you can. See?
Really?
Yeah, it's on your face and in the background.
Yeah. Well, I'll just switch it on and off.
You want to tell the story?
Sure. Unless you want to keep talking about lighting and other things.
You threw that.
What?
I don't even want to think about it.
Don't think about it then.
I don't
So
know what's on the ground because
back to the Anunnaki. So they came to this time and space.
it's like you did dental floss and you threw it on the ground.
Well, let's take a look. Dental floss on the ground. Oh my God. Oh my God. Dental floss on the ground. Here it is. Here it is. It's dental floss on the ground. Oh, woo. Okay. Hey, you know, actually, I'm going to use it right now on my teeth.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Anyway, back to the story. Oh, okay.
Let's not do some argument or something.
That's not an argument. That was theater.
I had to throw that stuff away.
That was theater, John. That was theater. It's like Shakespeare.
But that's your only problem is you're a little sloppy.
That's my only problem. I'm a little sloppy. Just a little. You know, not too much. Just a little. And as my grandma used to say, you was the owl. See, you know, I look like the owl. These are just the extension of my eyebrows. So, anyway, let's see. Where were we? Oh, the Anunnaki. And who we are. We are just this bag of water that's been genetic. We are all, you know, people talk about, oh, we're the aliens. Human, Homo sapiens sapien are the aliens. We are the only creatures on this planet that doesn't hold to nature's path. We're the only folk who are out of the step with Gaia, you know? And the only Homo sapiens sapiens that are in step with Gaia are indigenous folk because they realize that we aren't, best thing since sliced bread, you know?
Can you turn that off? Just off. Okay, is that good? I like that.
Yeah, me too. That's what I started out with.
Let's go with that.
Okay.
It's a little subtle, more light.
Yeah.
I'm not lighting the background on. Okay.
Why?
Just very subtle. for the video.
Okay.
It's different from the real life when you're in a club or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, where'd we? Oh, the Anunnaki. Yes. I mean, this
For them,
video.
it's good for your chat thing. It's like it's still pretty dark.
It's fine.
Nowadays, the camera pick up better light, but not as. Let me see what this is.
Okay.
Wait, somebody's important text is text. Somebody, it's an important text.
It's an important text.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys having to say about all this? Well, you're chatting away. Yeah, like I said, what can I say? Oh, that's what I love about this chat stuff. You guys go on between yourselves, and it's like a party line. I'm just listening in. But where would we? The Anunnaki. So
oh, you're gonna tell the story?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have to check this. It's really important.
It's an important text. John has to do an important test. Oh, so maybe what will I talk while I'm thinking about something else? So today I was with a friend of mine, and she is quite an amazing person, great artist, and she is probably one of the best social activists, environmental activists. Around here in Roanoke, they're building a pipeline. And, Virginia, Virginia's for lovers. Well,
like outside of the edge of town, somewhere.
But the
far
scar.
away from here, they decide not to do it here, which is amazing. They did it far away from here, but it's horrible. They're doing it, but they have to, it's okay. You can talk about it.
They have to because they want to make a lot of money. That's why they have to. They don't really have to. The main reasons they're doing this, because this is all gas and oil that's coming from fracking from upstate New York, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and West Virginia, which are some of the most purest water tables on the planet. And the company that is doing this also owns a controlling interest in Coca-Cola and Pepsi. And they are one of the largest distributors of bottled water. So if they destroy 80% of all the most purest water on the planet, they'll be able to sell more and more of their crappy, bottled water, which is basically stuff out of the toilet that they put into reverse osmosis. That's reason why they're building the pipeline. Reason two is that about a third of the major power lines on the East Coast go right through our valley. And they're putting this pipeline under all of those major utility lines because within 5 years, every truck, every car, every, wheeled transportation that goes on the highway will be autonomous and owned by Lyft or Uber or GE or somebody. But you won't own it.
Well, if you have money, you'll be able to. Yeah, but the thing is to trust those people somewhat, to not always be against them. Supposedly, well, I heard in the future, this guy that had a premonition or had a dream that was very vivid of the future, all the jobs are going to be run by
robots.
Yeah, machines.
Robots.
Yeah, and you won't have to work very much at all. People won't really have to work, but they're suggested to work.
Well, basically, all you have to do is go to the United Nations and look at Agenda 21.
You could be kicked out of the place and sent out into the wilderness to survive on your own if you break laws or too much or go to jail. But it's not that bad. It's like usually people aren't going to do anything that crazy or have to work or something like that at some jail type of thing if they break the law too much. But it's not, the guy said in his dream, it's not so horrible that they'd have to, you'd be all worried that you had to follow the rules and everything. Most people aren't going to do anything wrong and it's okay. And the government is run by real human beings, and they just keep the robots, in order. I don't think there would be a robot Terminator thing or something crazy like that. He had he like had a real dream, a vivid dream or a premonition or something like that. He tells a whole story about it. It's this guy talking about the future, and it was like, wow, that's the most believable sounding thing ever. They animated it. It was a video. And he said it was in like 700 years, and it sounds very believable because the robot technology they're really building on now.
Yep. Well, not 700 years, 5 years. And see, you know what this is like the fires that are in California, right? They are, especially the campfire fire, is right where in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, they had the military dumping grounds for radioactive and chemical warfare. And that fire has burnt all of those toxins up, and the federal government and the companies like DuPont and Monsanto and, Exxon and a few other chemical companies, GE, we're going to have to pay to clean that up. But now it's all been burnt up and it's in the air and it's spreading all around the world, all these toxins. And the face you see on me is the representation of what little children are going to look like in, 10, 15 years. Any child between the, baby to 14. This is what the new human species is going to look like.
1967.
No. This is
right on,
2018.
Yeah, you're talking all right.
Yeah. So that's real. I mean, you can go online and look up, military toxins being burnt by the California fires, and they're talking about how you go on your little app and you ask about the weather and it says air outside deadly, stay indoors.
Get out of here, Tommy.
No, yeah, 64. Yeah.
Oh, it's just me.
It's just Tommy.
67. Yeah, the muppet's going across country.
Pretty much. And did you ever see the movie Iditopia, where the smartest guy on the planet is the pizza delivery boy from, what year did you say, 1969? Yep.
The muppets, man.
Did you ever see that movie, John? Iditopia?
Editopia?
Idiotopia.
No.
It's where a WWF wrestler was president. And the smartest guy on the planet was a pizza delivery boy from 1969.
Yeah! Wow, right on. I like that. Yeah, man. High on weed. High on weed, man. I'm sorry. Oh, no.
Let's see.
Yeah. Man.
Yep.
Wow. Cheech and Chong. Tommy Chong, 1974. California. Spaced out. Yeah. No. I'm sorry. 1969.
So, John, I want you to go inside yourself. I want you to channel. I want you to see the deeper story, John. You're right on the edge. You're right on the edge of that pool, John. I want you to see what's going on. I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and as I do, you're going to go into that channel. You're going to hear what's really going on. You're going to be the voice of what's really going on. So 1, you're leaving this distraction.
I keep thinking about that dental floss that you threw it on the floor, and it's like it's going right up to my teeth.
I threw it away, John. It's not on. It's not on the floor anymore.
No, I'm not. I don't take any drugs. I really don't take any drugs like that. Those ones that make people high. I take medicine here and there for things that's prescription, but I don't take any of those ones that make people high. I don't like it as much for me personally. It doesn't bother me if they made medical marijuana and maybe marijuana legal, but they really have to regulate that to make sure people are okay and stuff. But what happened with the Nazis?
Well,
the genetic creatures that were experimented, were the scary ones that like looked perfect and they were like
they looked like me. They were scary looking like me.
But the Nazis were different. That's awful. What happened with
the guys because some of the most amazing Long Island, right, in New York State, right, eastern Long Island, from Nassau County all through all of Suffolk County, especially from around
Woodstock, yeah, man, Tommy Chong, 1972, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So Nikola Tesla, there was a group that came from Germany and came to the United States.
Hippie boss, man, it's a blonde-haired girl from the Muppets, yeah, the blonde-haired girl, yeah, man, yeah. The blind girl from the Muppets. Wow, man. California. Yeah. I
Okay.
don't know.
Who was that? Where'd she go? Where did Tommy Chong go? I can't see him in the dark. Wait, there he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Hey, he's over there. He's way over there, I think.
Yeah, man.
Where are you? What?
Did you guys watch Soupy Sales? And Soupy had two dogs, White Fang and Black Tooth. That's where we are right here. Yep. So anyway, in the 1850s, there were a group of American and German scientists in California that developed anti-gravity.
California?
Yeah, California. And flying saucers and the cigar-shaped anti-gravity things. If you go back into the California newspapers and the Herald Tribune, there are loads and loads and loads of stories. And we had a CMG in the 1865 that we didn't have too much in the electrical world, but we did have telegraphs and railroads. And that EMP that shot at us from the sun burnt up every telegraph wire there was. And all of the rails that were out in the West were bent all over the place because it was two pieces of metal right against, 6 feet or 4 feet apart, and they acted like magnets and they pushed against each other. And so go look about that. And there's a guy named Robert Fordor, and he was a reporter from the Herald Tribune, and he was in Chicago when Mrs. McGillicuddy's cow allegedly kicked over the lantern that burnt Chicago to the ground. Well, Chicago at that time was a steel and concrete town and brick. It wasn't a wood town. And what hit it was a chunk of an asteroid that flew by us and basically didn't really hit, didn't do a concussion, but zipped so close that as it burned up, it created it was like a hydrogen bomb blowing up 200,000 feet up in the air. And it irradiated chunks of Illinois, Chicago, and the other two states. And he was out there and saw it and realized that this was no fire, because it occurred in 3 different states. And the towns and cities that got hit the hardest were vaporized, you know, and the concrete retaining walls that didn't get vaporized had shadows of people, and that's what happens in nuclear explosions. And so he wrote it in the Herald Tribune and tried to get, and nobody wanted, hey, we can't talk about this. And so he started the Fortean Society, and you go Google that, and that has every weird, amazing thing since like the 1860s on. And that's one of my major to-go places. Like when I do research, I want to see what happened in the past because, you know, I don't need to make things up. I can just, you know, go from that point and then go further and further and see who did what and how they did this and etc. So go do that, kids. Right? So let's see. Let's get back to Long Island and genetically engineered creatures, and you know we are the remnants of that. Has anyone ever seen a movie, Oh Lucky Man? Go see that movie. What's his name? The guy who's in Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell. He did this trilogy.
His son he was at my film school when I was there.
No, that's
a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah. So he did these 3 movies. One called Clockwork Orange. One called If, and one called Oh Lucky Man. And they were like a trilogy. And the first one was him in high school and what he had to deal with the class structure. And that was what it was mostly about. And back in the days, guys who went to Eton and schools like that, they also, you know, were schooled in being soldiers because they would be the guys when, you know, the empire needed people to go kill indigenous people. They would go do it, and they would be the officers. So these 4 guys were stoners, and they couldn't stand this. And whatchamacallit, you know, so there were all these guns and hand grenades left over from World War II. So they go in and basically do a South Park on everyone. What was the high school where those 2 boys in black coats killed everyone? Columbine. They do a Columbine. And this movie was made maybe 30 years before Columbine, but
You mentioned Chicago and Columbine.
Yeah.
What made you mention those?
Because they are, you wanted a scary story. I'm telling you a scary story. And everything's connected, John. You know, there is nothing separate. There is no separation. Everything is connected. So anyway,
I don't know if we may be psychically connected because I just had a layover in Chicago that lasted 5 hours on my flight back. And hi, how's it going? You're filming me? I don't know what I look like in this light. I'm just doing filmmaking. I haven't gotten really ready today. I just flew yesterday, and I've been on a flight in Chicago, and I noticed people wearing these trench coats, and I was like taken aback by it, like as if they could have weapons or something. It's kind of frightening.
Well, not in an airport, John.
It was in an airport.
No, but they're pretty
dressed for the weather.
Yeah, but
it looked like
the TSA does their job. They did you have to go through a X-ray machine at the airport?
Of course.
So if those guys had to go through too, they couldn't have any weapons.
Yeah, but it looked like something was funny to me in the way that they had these coats that looked like trench coats, and I happened to recall that specifically, and also, you know, I was in Chicago for a long time, so I thought it was interesting you mentioned Chicago and the other thing. So
anyway, back to the story. So there's this trilogy. So there's If, and then Oh Lucky Man, and Malcolm plays this young lad out of school, and his first job is putting stuff in vending machines. He's a vending machine man, right? So he drives through this like super duper military laboratory where everyone's being inspected. Not this guy. He's in the candy bar truck, and he drives and he just waves at the guy at the gate. He goes in, and he's got a wagon, and he's filling up the candy machines. And all of a sudden, this kind of sound goes off, where
Hi.
hi,
Hey, how's it going?
hey, pretty good,
Hey.
hey. And so
How's it going? Hey.
anyway, so and he's just looking around, and this guy, you gotta get out of here, you gotta get out of here. So he kind of runs to his truck. He's in the truck. He's, everyone's running and driving and flying by him. And all of a sudden this, like nuclear explosion goes off and everyone gets incinerated. And his candy truck is like made out of lead or something, but it gets picked up and thrown across to next county. And he's like, what was that? Right. And so anyway, the movie goes on and on and on, and he gets put into weirder and weirder and weirder situations to the point where, he's been, genetically experimented on. He's like, you name it, it's happened to him. So he's like a homeless guy in the street, just walking around, really thinking about, I want to kill myself, because he started out being the happy-go-lucky, everything's great. Oh, I believe everything my government tells me. And, in a 1 week period, he is totally defrocked, right, of all his beliefs. And yeah, it's a movie.
How can anything happen?
It's a movie, John. It's called Artistic License. Anyway, so he just like this mask. This mask is artistic license, and that's kind of what this video I'm talking to you about is. You don't believe anything.
You mean they threatened him?
Oh, beyond threatening him, John.
Did they beat him?
Oh, beyond that, they cut his nuts off and then turned him inside out and put his head on a pig's body.
Ah.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
That's the terrible stuff.
Yeah, that's the terrible
That's
stuff.
the hellish stuff.
But it's not. What
That
that terrible stuff is the candy bar that you're eating.
You don't want to go to.
It's the living in California and
that's the
breathing
stuff
that air. That's the terrible
you
stuff.
No, you want to be kind to others so that stuff doesn't happen. What did he morally corrupt himself?
No, he was kind. He was the sweetest, nicest guy. That's what this movie's about. He's the old lucky man. So after he's gone,
under the impression nothing like that happened to anyone usually, unless they had done something.
What about the 18 million people in Syria who were very nice and kind, and they had a civil war, and 800,000 children and mothers and babies were incinerated by weapons that
that's death. That's horrible, but that's not as horrible. That's even dying in Nazi Germany, which was terrible, would not be as bad as being kept alive and tortured and had your head put on a pig's body, which is, not necessarily sounding that horrible. However, if they did something to morally, mess with you and make you become morally even more horrible than you were, to these horrible depths and levels of hell, keeping you genetically alive for centuries, something like that, making you have sex with who knows what close people in your life that you just love, that would never, like the horrible, hellish nightmare things that happen when morals get corrupted. Do you think that's even possible? That's what hell can be. The most horrible, imaginable fears that you may have, that's what hell, I think, can be.
Well, hell is right here, John. You don't have to wait to go to hell. Hell is on earth, right here, right now. That's what people do to.
Well, if you're.
That's what happens. That's what happens here in America.
Avoid a lot of the horrible things. I believe there's spirit guides and angels that could help us through life, make us decide. Make the correct.
The bottom line, John, we have free will. We do whatever we want. Now we can be inspired by what you're talking about, meaning, the cartoon of Daffy Duck and the angel is on one shoulder and the devil's on the other. But Daffy gets to choose whether he's going to be a devil or an angel. That's up to us.
With your own will to make sure that you don't get hurt or get way heavy again or something like that would mess. You take action to watch your diet. Eat healthy, eat the proper foods. you know, so that to avoid the horrible suffering that could happen if you just like, who cares, and do whatever you feel like.
Well, at the end of the movie, he's like walking down the road as a sad sack, and
You're just telling the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he walks into, they're making a movie called Oh Lucky Man. Everyone's got their jacket. This is Oh Lucky Man. And, you know, there's the catering truck. And people are waiting online for food. And so he's hungry. He gets online. And he's going to get something at the catering truck. And the director comes over at him and goes, and he points at Malcolm and says, he's the one. And the producer, what do you mean he's the one? He's going to star in the movie. What? He's the one. And you know, Malcolm's way online to get, you know, whatever they got from the food truck. And the director goes, now laugh. Now what Malcolm's been through in the last week, he goes, what? He goes, yeah, laugh. He goes, what's there to laugh at? And he goes, no, laugh. You know, I want to see how you laugh. This is in the movie, Oh Lucky Man. Laugh. And basically, Malcolm's starting to get really pissed off because he's realized what the fuck is going on this planet. Everyone's lied to him. There's nothing to laugh at. And the director takes his clipboard and whacks Malcolm, you know, on the side of the head. I mean, really gives it to him. And then Malcolm's like, looks at him like he's going to kill him. And then he kind of goes, and the director goes, that's what I'm looking for. And that's the end of the movie. Then, a few years later, good old, who's the guy who did Clockwork Orange?
Stanley Kubrick.
Kubrick.
But this is not a real life thing you're telling about.
No, well, see, films are real life, John. They are the heads up of what's coming.
The real story about the scary genetically. Okay, remember that time when we were sitting on the porch and there were those scary genetically. You know, I was afraid. I came out to this house and it was so strange. I'll show you some of it from this angle. You know. Back when you owned it, it was in kind of worse condition, but you had all these Christmas lights everywhere.
Right.
It was weird.
Yep, it was an art piece.
I thought there were raccoon people. There were raccoons like
there were raccoon
people.
The house. Yep, there were.
It was. I mean, I thought there were this one wall had this stuff on it. I thought it scratches and everything weird.
There were raccoons. I mean, I had the raccoon people come in here.
I thought it was a raccoon person.
Well, it was. They were like, I got invaded. I mean, there was one year.
I was afraid that there was strange creatures. It was way out in the woods, totally dark sometimes. I
have to take this off, guys.
Now it's nice and friendly and feels okay. I was worried. I used to be worried about it.
It's hard to wear a mask.
I was afraid.
People do all the time.
Like I'd hear these funny sounds in the house.
Yeah, well, it's a big house.
And then after I was worried about the raccoon people, I went up in there in the dark one time or sometime and found a piece of art that the original builder did that had raccoons made out of this brown stuff. Painted out of this brown stuff. I didn't know what it was. Something that came out of his mouth or someone's mouth. He didn't do any of that. But I didn't know what it was because I had seen some of that stuff on the walls. Sort of, maybe. I didn't know what it was. And it was like, he made the whole painting out of brown stuff. I saw the finished one that was like photorealistic, that was really good, that he sold for probably, you know, $20,000, $10,000, something like $7,000, $30,000, whatever he sold the stuff for. He was an artist that built this house. He did that fireplace, he did the whole house. It took him 7 years. But I came to this house and we'd be sitting on the porch or outside way out in the dark, and the wind would be blowing, and it was like a summer night. Different summer nights, you'd light a campfire or fire.
In the fire pit.
You can't say that too much. You got to be careful about those campfires now.
Well, I mean, not after it's been raining. This ain't California, buddy.
You got to be really careful about it.
And I am like Mr., living in the woods. And, if you put rocks around your fire, if you rake up all the leaves or twigs that any ember could
Yeah.
touch. You know, if you have a bucket
Take
of water, you know, what's the cowboy thing? Be prepared.
And
So
what happened with the so I was worried that there's some strange genetic creatures. And what was that story that you told me where these people looked really young but they're old? And then what was the one with the not was that a different one with a Nazi man who knocked down those like hundreds of that like 100,000 he knocked down
he
trees?
destroyed the rainforests of Brazil.
Yeah, and you went there and you met with him.
Yep.
And he was like 90 something years old.
No,
And
he was
Nazi.
more than 100 because
And he looked
during
kind of-
World War
he looked
II
young.
he
said he looked
he
like-
was 60 years old in 1943. So just take you know, the amount of years between 1943 and 1988 and add it to you know, 80 something, and that's how old this guy was by years. But he looked younger than I was, you know. And he genetically had changed himself, and he had used nanotechnology. And nanotechnology was just kind of theoretically being written about. IBM was playing with it a little bit, and so was Sony and a few other companies. But the Nazis had used this technology in the 30s. And that's what I'm saying. Technology, I mean, everything you think is real ain't.
Did they have to sin a lot more for a human being to live that much longer?
What is sin, John?
And
Tell
look
what
that
is sin?
young, and
Tell me
look
what
that
sin
young?
is. What is sin?
Did they have to sin?
John,
to
what is sin?
really be mean
What
to
is
people?
sin?
Follow the law, do whatever they have to stay alive.
What is the law? What is the law? If our Congress passed a law that said white men could rape any woman they wanted, and it was the law,
they're not going to do that.
well, they did. They had a thing called Jim Crow.
That's terrible.
Yeah, and that thing called Jim Crow existed up until the 1960s.
It's horrible that in some cases those horrible things could happen again, but hopefully we remember them and keep growing and getting better. I think we keep getting better and we avoid those catastrophes.
We do, and that's why you're right, John. You know, because for all the really unbelievably terrible, stupid things that we have done as a species, we shouldn't even be here, but we are, right? And that's not so much because we're getting better. Some of us are, you know.
We even tried somebody like Obama. Somebody who was
John,
like our
Obama,
enemies,
no,
who would've been
Obama,
kind to
no,
even our
John,
enemies.
I'm sorry to tell you this.
Theoretically, our enemies were the terrorists, those Muslim guys
No.
with the beards that were
John,
terrorists.
you
We chose somebody with a
That's
a
an illusion,
Muslim-sounding
John.
middle name.
That's
who
an
could
illusion.
Potentially been the most unity pushing in a non-mean way, more like Mahatma Gandhi or
No, that wasn't
Martin
Obama.
Luther King.
Sorry, John, that wasn't Obama.
That's what he was. That's what the plan was.
No, the plan
But
was
it didn't work.
he was a
didn't
beta
work.
test. He was a beta
It could
test.
have backfired if we weren't ready for all that.
No, he bombed. He killed more people with drones than George W.
Yeah, see, even him, he got that look in his eye like, I'm a killer or something like that. He was like,
He started out that
He
way.
got that look in his eye like, he had done some stuff wrong.
So what is
Because
sin?
he had to make they have to, as a president, they have to make the choice almost every day sometimes to go and attack a certain place. They have to sign something, yes, they have to go ahead and attack with these military things. It's something that I wouldn't want the moral responsibility of, that much power. Because the power is not necessarily good. Usually not, right? You think?
I don't want. No, I've always shied away from it myself. Yeah. My whole raison d'etre is I'm here to make you happy so I can be happy.
What's the story with the what are the other weird creatures? What about that time when you went to some bar, like not a bar, but like a whole island or place that they had built, and they had all these people working for them there, and it was like in Brazil or some
Yes,
rainforest?
it wasn't an island; it was a peninsula.
Yeah, and they had,
Buzios.
you were putting a club in or something?
Yes, a nightclub. Yep.
And they had all these strange people that looked really perfect. These girls that would do anything.
Well, that was the Doctor. He was the Nazi guy who was like 140 and he looked 35. And he had these genetically engineered creatures. You know, they weren't human. They weren't even clones. They were just creatures. They had one purpose. You know, they had guys that were, what is known as a Kamara when you mix species together, I guess a jackass, mix of a horse and a donkey. But,
what did they look like?
Oh, well, they had guys that were basically bulls and human beings. So they had these hind corners that were as strong as a bull. So and their arms were as strong as a bull. So they could lift a car, no problem, And they were tweaked with other organs that kicked in unbelievable hormones. And then they had these young women that, were just there, not to, reproduce, they didn't even talk. They were just there to service men, And there were other creatures. They tweaked folks who looked kind of like little monkeys that were super psychic and could put images in your brain, could like freak you out. And this guy would have him on the shoulder and he would walk through town. And if he wanted someone to just kill themselves, he would psychically tell the monkey to, get that person over there to jump off a cliff or step in front of the bus. Or
they had monkey-looking people that.
No, they had little. They were monkey-looking people. I mean, if you looked at them real close, and if you go to my Blogspot, X-rated Blogspot,
X-rated.
Yeah, XRATTED.
Spelled it.
Yeah, I know, X-rated. I do things like that because spelling is a spell.
You could
Grammar.
use an editor if you had the.
No, I don't need an editor. I do this stuff on purpose, kids. I do it on purpose. I am the bard of metaphor.
Yeah, but even Donald Trump admits that
we
good. All gave Obama a chance. We gave him a chance back then. Even Donald Trump says that.
Who cares?
America and everybody gave.
I mean, Donald Trump, I don't believe.
Tried for real.
He lies
to reach out beyond America and make everyone friends with socialism, all getting along, all holding hands. We tried it with Obama, and it didn't work. It could have imploded and made like a third world hell in America.
Well, we're heading that way. We're heading that way. The stock market, now is at 24,500. Every bit of positive economic gain that happened under Donnie's, what do they call it, animal enthusiasm.
Think about all those white males running the whole country in that, traditional, pretty Republican way, even when it wasn't called Republican, that way of doing things with, white males, the head of everything, that had tons of money, and then going from that to a black guy with Hussein as his you believe that?
John, you are more a African American than Obama. Obama is a genetically engineered creature.
Barack Hussein Obama. Obama. I can't believe that. I don't believe it personally. But we really tried. We didn't think it would hurt us.
Winging monkeys.
It sucked that bad.
Winging winkies.
But it started. It could have potentially gotten really bad, and we had to. I think America had to defend ourselves. We had to go back to the safe zone of being kind of like things were, and
Donald Trump is the safe zone. Donald Trump is the safe zone.
We had to step back to an area that was like, they thought
the safe zone.
Something in the other direction to kind of bring it back to normal. When you try something so new and original and different, these other countries like Russia are not going to be ready for it. They jail gays.
Guys, bottom line, there are no nation states. World War I and World War II got rid of nation states and kings, right? We live in a corporate plutocracy. We are all owned You know, you have a birth certificate. You know where that comes from? It comes from boats. It comes from admiralty law. You are just someone's property. When you have a birth certificate, you are just someone's property.
That's the sort of Illuminati believing in stuff.
No, it's banking. You know, it's Babylon money magic. You know, and that's what the Federal Reserve is, because they just print paper and people believe it's worth something. And I would say within 40 or 50 days, you know, oil has like hit the skids. It's now $55 a barrel. It's heading towards $30. That means your gas is going to be 87 cents, meaning they won't be able to afford to put gas in your tank. And you know, again, we're being manipulated, being put into a vice of fear, and everything that you think is scary. What?
I don't know what it is, but are you gonna?
Well, I was telling a story, but you know, we kind of lost track when Cheech and Chong showed up. But anyway, let's go back to.
How about the strange creatures that you've met in real life?
Oh, the strangest creature the two strangest creatures I've ever met in my life was Henry Kissinger and Nelson Rockefeller. And I met them a number of times at the UN, but the strangest time was I was at the Whitney Museum helping a friend do an installation there. And back in the 80s, I did a lot of like wizardry for artists. I mean, I would make little gizmos that would make their little sculptures or their this. I'd lit it, or, you know, would do things that would, you know, give their art piece a pizzazz, right? Usually with Christmas lights. But my friend, Robin Winters, that's not his last name, but it started with a W. But anyway, he was a really interesting guy. He was like me. We did performance art. And he used to build these things, and people would go in them. So he made this big box that looked like a Christmas present. And we built it like theater scenery. And we were assembling it in the Whitney. So we had 3 days. You know, they closed down the Whitney in this section of the museum to install the Whitney Annual. And the Whitney Annual was art of interesting artists who were like not old and dead, but you know, this guy may be pretty cool one day, you know, like Keith Haring or Julian Schnabel, guys like that. And Robin was one of them. And anyway, we were installing this box, and so the box looked like a big Christmas present and very shiny. So we made like 1x2 frame. We stretched canvas over it. We hit it with latex, and then we hit it with gloss, and then we hit it with high gloss polyurethane. So it looked very shiny. It's like it looked like it was covered in jizz, right? And it was that shiny. And
that's gross.
Well, that's art, buddy.
Jizz is an art.
Sure it is.
No, it's not.
It's God's art. One of the great art, because it makes babies, and you can't get any better than that.
You can't make art out of it.
Sure.
Why?
Because that's what art is, buddy. You know, like there was
it's not.
Well, okay, that's what taste is, and taste.
It's like splattering paint, but it's gross.
Yes, right. And that's taste. One of the most deadliest things in humans' culture, modern materialist culture, is taste. Well, you know, there are all these people who write about art and say, this is terrible, just like John thinks that, you know, that's his taste, his opinion, his feeling that, you know, anything made from jizz couldn't be art. Yeah. But anyway, I'm straying from my story because I'm talking about the scariest monsters I ever met, Henry Kissinger and Nelson Rockefeller, right? So Robin and I are building this box, and there's two doorways, right?
What was it?
I'm gonna.
You were building something in the Whitney?
Yes.
Was it your exhibit or somebody else's?
It's my buddy's, but he's unlike other people, gave me total credit. You know, on the little paper that explained what it was. It said, Al made all of the lighting. Al did all the theatrical effects. Al, it was, Robin's idea. But, that's artist.
The only credit that I can find online is Potato Wolf.
Yeah, because I am an egoless artist, meaning all I'm interested is the expression of truth.
Is that why you're on camera right now on 2 cameras as the star?
No. I told you I wanted to put you on the camera, but you said you wanted me.
I wasn't prepared. I didn't get all ready and shower.
Well, you didn't have to do this, right? I've been doing these live chats for my family here, 1 in the morning and 1 in the evening for the last month. And you guys like it, don't you? Yeah. See, they like, yep. Jizzart. Yep, exactly. I like the way you wrote that. So what makes me happy is not being rich and famous, but making you guys happy. When you guys are happy, I'm happy, right? That's why I do live chats, because I have, response. And you guys are really great because you actually talk about stuff. You actually and this is like what a chat is. We're all chatting and you're all connecting to what's happening. And, and for the last month of us doing this together has been really, really great, because it is that little pebble, meaning I feel the effect. All the stuff that we've been talking about in the last month, I don't know if any of you have noticed it, but they are talking about it in the news. We've been talking about ascension, not evolution, but ascension. Now everyone's talking about ascension, So anyway, back to the Whitney. So there I was. It's like 3 in the morning, and we got like maybe 18 hours before the opening, and so we're working feverishly. And what it was, so you went into this box, and there were two doorways, right? And there were a light over the door was either red or green. And if it was green, it meant nobody was in there. Red meant there was somebody in there. So, and for the show, we were going to line people up. So 2 by 2, they would go into the 2 doorways. And the box was cut in half with a wall, and both sides looked like, the women's powder room in the Waldorf Astoria. Really fancy, frilly flowers, a makeup table with the lights and a big mirror. And that mirror was a 2-way mirror. And I had made a little gizmo that, when the 2 lights turned green and they walked in and they sat down, there's only 1 seat. It was like a piano, seat, and it had a little sensor. So when you sat down, it started the gizmo rolling. And the gizmo imperceptibly would dim the lights on one side of the mirror. And so the guy on the other side, where the light is still bright, his face would come through the 2-way mirror, and where the light dimmed, the person sitting on the other side, the other person's face would be where their face was. That's kind of, that was the whole hook of the art piece. That's all it was, right? You sat down and it would dim back and forth in a 10-second cycle. So first, the other guy's face would be on top of yours, and then your face would be on the other guy's, and then they would go back and forth for about 2 minutes, and then all the lights would go.
Where's Henry Kissinger and the other guys?
Nelson Rockefeller. So it's 3 in the morning, right? And we're the only guys up there working away, and we start hearing this laughing, and I hear Henry Kissinger's voice and Nelson Rockefeller, and they're off on the other end of the exhibition, and they walk in, and they each have a bottle of VOS. And
what's VOS?
VOS is a really good absinthe.
It is?
Yeah, really good, like psychedelically good. And
where do you get it nowadays? Can you?
I have no idea. But these guys are the richest people in the world, and they.
Or is it? Can you get? Is it $300 a bottle? How much is it?
I didn't quite ask them. Oh. Anyway,
I'm not paying. I'm not paying that much money for it, but it's interesting because wouldn't that be cool if it's affordable enough? VOS.
Right. Anyway, so they kind of come upon us and they're going, "Boys, what are you guys doing?"
If it's legal.
No, this stuff wasn't legal.
Oh, then they don't have it probably.
I mean, this stuff was off the chart, not legal. And they also had spliffs, which are cigars with lamb's breath in the center, like psychotropic, cannabis sativa, right? So they're smoking these spliffs and drinking this psychotropic liqueur.
Wow.
And they are out of their friggin' minds, right? And they're kissing each other and swapping spit. Yes, Henry Kissinger and Nelson Rockefeller, right? And
how old were they back then?
Let's see, that was 80. So they had to be pushing 70.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know how old Henry is now. Maybe 60, somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, somewhere 62 to 72, somewhere in there. But, they weren't young chickens, that's for sure. But they were two of the most powerful men on the planet, So, and Henry's still fucking alive. And that boy's...
Henry Kissinger?
Is still friggin' alive, yeah.
How much money does he have?
God, more money than God. And he's the boy who... He kind of... Talking about... committing sin, that boy has committed every sin. So anyway, they go in the box and it cycles and they're seeing Henry's face is becoming Nelson's face and vice versa. And they're like laughing hysterically and they come out, that's the best thing we ever seen. Oh, look at that box. It's covered in jizz. Right? Anyway, so they go,
it's covered in jizz?
That's what they said. It's covered in jizz.
Did they do it?
No, they didn't do it. It's art. We did it. We made it look that way.
Oh, the jizz.
The box. The box.
Okay.
The box.
The art you did.
Yes.
Whoa. It turned into such an amazing, interesting story.
Yeah. Anyway, so.
With those two guys.
Well, they're the scariest monsters I'd ever seen. And they start, hey, guys, smoke some. We want to talk. You guys are cool. And they start telling us things about all the people that, the wars they've done. Henry tells me about the Khmer Rouge and about what he goes, Vietnam wasn't about anything other than heroin. It was the Golden Triangle, and we wanted to control it. And there was oil and tourism there, and we didn't want either of those things. We wanted that to happen later, and we wanted to control them. And, Ho Chi Minh was our guy. He was educated at NYU Law School, and he was, we told him he was, when we needed him to fight the Japanese, we told him he was going to be the, Washington of Vietnam, and he was, right? And all he wanted was the Pepsi dealership, right? So the Japs, chased the French out, and good old Ho Chi, fought the Japs the whole war and finally pushed them out. So when we finally came back after that, and all the bombs and bullets and tanks that were going to go to attack Japan, we shipped them to Korea, North Korea, and to Vietnam. And we gave in Vietnam enough arms to both sides so they would just kill each other. And
North Korea or North Vietnam?
No, both countries. We armed both sides. Henry Kissinger and Nelson Rockefeller armed both sides of the Korean conflict and the Vietnam conflict, right? And it was all about heroin, oil, and tourism, right? And so they're telling us this, smoking and jugging that. Now
why would they tell random people?
Because they thought we were cool. They thought our box.
Young and cool.
Yeah, we were at the Whitney, and we made this box covered in jizz and made their faces come up on each other, and they were sitting in a woman's bathroom. They thought that was hilarious. They thought it, and John first started me off on this story because he wanted to.
Was there a famous artist?
Robin, yeah, at the time he was. I mean, that's the thing about art. You can be pretty famous for like look at Julian Schnabel. When he was at the height of his whoop-de-doo as a painter, he was selling those suckers for 50, 60 grand a pop. But then he didn't want to be. He wanted to make films, and then no one's watched his films at all. But he didn't have to worry because his family was rich, and most artists come from that, or they don't. Yeah, most successful artists.
What percentage would you say from the artists you've met in New York City in everywhere.
Who hit the big time, who were really famous, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. Almost 90%.
Really?
Yeah, because
Because Andy Warhol, he almost for sure came across to me as if he had a mom that he would say things like he'd be on the phone, he'd be talking on the phone in this one interview of Andy Warhol, and he'd go, "Hey mom, hey, yeah, that's right. Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say."
yeah, Andy
He
Warhol,
was cool about it, but he was acting like a little kid.
he was a
'Cause he had to
Midwestern
do
boy.
Whatever his mom
Yes,
said.
he was a Midwestern boy, but he went to school to be an artist, but a commercial artist. Then he worked in advertising, and he realized, screw this, I'm going to make some real money. And he used the psychology and the aesthetics of advertisement for his art. And he was the first guy to do it, right? Yes, you can make your own wormwood. Yeah, I've done that. You know?
Wormwood?
Yeah, that's
It exists? I
Yeah.
thought it was just in the Nightmare Before Christmas.
no. It's a plant. You know, it's really anise and a few other things, and that's anyway. But you know, again,
What happened with Henry Kissinger and
anyway. So we sat there. And we didn't drink any of their VOS because we had to finish this project for the opening. We did smoke some of the spliff because we were about 98% done. So we did, and that was some pretty good shit. And that was Henry Kissinger, who was part of Nelson Rockefeller's war on drugs. He was the first war on drugs guy, the biggest drug dealer
But what was
on the
scary about it,
planet.
Did they look at all like funny creatures?
Yeah. When their faces were appearing and because we had a TV camera in there, because Uncle Louie, who was, you know, the heir to the Sony fortune, had his studio down.
Who's Uncle Louie?
I was just telling you, Uncle
Who's
Louie,
Uncle?
Uncle Louie, that's what we called him. All of us in the video world called him Uncle Louie because he was,
Potato Wolf and all that?
yeah, and all that. Yeah.
Documentaries you do?
Yeah. All of that. Because the equipment, Uncle Louie was the heir to the Sony fortune. His grandfather and father, you know, did all this. So he had the Betamax before anyone ever had it. You know, he had really great,
What's the sound?
What's the sound? It's me.
No, I heard something back there like a little...
I farted.
No, I heard it again.
I farted.
No, I heard a sound.
Enox, yep. Anyway, those guys were the scariest monsters I had ever seen.
Little metal shaking.
And if you go, you know, Google Henry Kissinger and Nelson Rockefeller and see all the things they were involved
There's
in.
nothing funny in the basement, is there?
No, it's called the wood stove is down there.
But there's not like a...
No, there are no creatures here, John.
There's not a portal to a real underground hell on Earth, is there?
No. The only portal there is the portals that humans make through their actions.
That's what I was worried about. I thought I was going to be taken down to hell one time when I didn't sleep for about a week or two.
Well, then that means you need to get your good night's sleep.
Whole elaborate story, like a really long screenplay in my mind of this elaborate hell underground and these vivid ways that they torture me or other people.
The only torture that we have is the torture we put ourselves through.
Tunnels, because I hadn't slept for like 2 weeks.
I used to live in when I lived in New York, and I lived in Chinatown,
And
on the other side of the Manhattan Bridge was this Jewish town. You know, there in New York City there are neighborhoods of like, you know, Williamsburg Brook, all Hasidim, all Lubavitcher. In this section from like you know, where the Manhattan Bridge is, all the way east to Avenue D.
It sounded like metal shaking. Was it the firewood still burning?
Could be. Who knows?
It's probably a piece of firewood falling over.
Yep.
But it sounded like a little metal thing shaking.
Might be the metal
This,
chair
like
that I'm in. Okay, there you go.
Something, maybe your chair, something like a little. I thought it was coming from the basement. I used to be so worried about that stuff. I was hyped up on caffeine. I got like way less sleep. I thought there was an underground hell, and they could make tunnels to people's houses in like different cities and just access it and pull them down to the hell when they're near the end of their life. I don't want to say that, but then the torture would begin with the genetic manipulation. The really bad stuff they could do to people. And I was worried that when people were buried, they'd have access to them underground. And they could, then keep them alive, bring them back to life again, do all this horrible stuff. And then it took me like 2 years, and I finally got over the fear. It was just from not sleeping for 2 weeks. I had the recollection of that fear. It was like a post-traumatic stress almost. And it didn't go away until after I'd been here a while and I kind of calmed down. Then I stopped worrying about all that big, crazy, horrible stuff from like not getting sleep that one time years ago. But it went away. It doesn't exist. And I found out, when people die, they just die and they go to the other side pretty much. It seems like they're done. You can't bring them back to life once they're gone.
Sure, you can animate a body.
Not if it's been dead for like...
It's all electric. No, my second wife came back from death after being dead for 7 hours.
No.
Yeah.
Really?
And that story is in my novel at xratted.blogspot.com. And you can get a hold of me at thedudeawake42@gmail. And hey there, all you folks on John's channel, come on over and take a look at Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. Right, guys? This is kind of cool, right? They all love it.
Okay, check out more of the videos.
Yeah, yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Don't be frightened by that stuff. It doesn't really exist.
It's
from lack of sleep.
Too
much caffeine.
Too much caffeine.
That only makes the lack of sleep worse.
Worse. Yep.
It's from those situations in life, not having a good home that's safe and private to come home to, a worrisome work situation, life stresses. These are the things that cause anxiety, really. It's not as much a chemical thing, usually, in my opinion, but you're supposed to ask a doctor, of course. But the main thing is, if you can stop caffeine, if you have really bad anxiety where you're worried and stuff,
don't drink caffeine.
Yeah, try to not have any caffeine.
Don't try.
You'll be tired.
Do, as Yoda says, don't try, do. Don't drink caffeine.
I think that enables schizophrenia.
Yeah, I would go along with that. I mean, everyone's different.
Caffeine.
Everyonene's different. So if you're really susceptible,
drink as much caffeine as they want.
It doesn't bother them. And me, I can drink it all the time.
No.
I mean, I'm Mr. Moderation, so so this is the same cup of coffee that I've been drinking all day. Just a little sip.
I think caffeine can. I've seen in my experience, it's really terrible. But I would still have it here and there. But if you're hyped up on it every day, not getting sleep,
buddy. Oh.
If you stop doing it, you'll get tired, and it feels awesome because you can finally get rest. You might eat a little more food. Just don't worry about it. It goes on for like 2 weeks, a few weeks. You get
just eat the right food, little vegetables, some fish.
Sleep.
I made a nice stew for John tonight. Fish stew, fish and veggies. Was that one night?
A nap throughout the day if you get the chance. If you're not at work, you can take a nap. Sleep way long hours every night. It's awesome. You're so mentally well adjusted if you quit caffeine. That's the thing. I was hyped up on caffeine. I stopped taking some medicine I was on. I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. I started worrying about this hell. I saw hell. It was terrible. It was like, I don't even want to say how horrible it was.
It's that horrible.
Yeah, it was a new level of
horribleness. New level of horribleness. Yep.
Like worse than any horror movie that's ever been shown.
Worse.
Horrible.
A new level of horribleness.
Version of
Yep.
it. It was terrifying. I was
Terrifying.
driven by the worst fear imaginable to me personally.
Okay. So it's 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 41 seconds. And I'm going to say, I'm going to go to bed. I'm tired.
It was from lack of sleep.
And I'm signing off at 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 30 seconds.
If you ever go off those psychiatric meds, the key thing is to get sleep. Even if you have to take an over-the-counter sleeping pill.
Yep.
Make sure you get sleep. If
Little.
you think you're getting 6 hours, the next night 5 hours, here and there it's going down to 4 hours one night. Even if you're not eating food, that's the thing with those meds. It makes people not want to eat sometimes.
Oh, buddy, you make me laugh.
They can't sleep. It can have a horrible effect on some people.
Yep. Or, you can be that half empty glass guy or that half full guy, and I try to live my life as a full glass kind of guy. Okay, Twitch.
Those glasses are making a funny shadow across your eye.
Yep. Well, they enable me to see, so I'm not worrying about the shadow. Melatonin. Yep, 8 grams.
Check out the other videos. There are some videos on my channel. That's his show.
Yep.
So to speak, or
it is my show. Yep.
And it's called Dream Time with Al or Al Bob.
Yep.
And there's a video on a Nordic alien that he met that's amazing. The Nordic alien.
Yep. I got that story too.
Oh man.
Yep.
That's a really good one.
Yep.
And there's one on him meeting the girl with the scar, the funny girl with the.
She wasn't funny. She was she was serious and scary. But we had fun together.
All sorts of ones. Him meeting Jimi Hendrix.
Yep. David Bowie.
Yeah.
And my little shamanic prayer videos. Do people watch those, John?
Shamanic prayer videos?
Yeah, when I
those are cool.
Yeah.
And which other ones would you like to? You have other stories about the strange creatures you met. What did Henry Kissinger and Rockefeller look like did it look like they're shape shifting?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
Can you describe what their faces look like?
The most horrible thing you could think of. The most horrible. Oh, just think of the most horrible thing.
I don't even think of that anymore.
Okay. Most horrible. Okay, it's 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 32 seconds. So, I love you guys. You're the best.
Yeah.
Love you.
Later, y'all. Bye. Okay, bye, everybody. Check out my videos on my page and the Dream.
That's
his is Dreamy
Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob.
Yeah, that's his channel.
My Gmail is thedudeawake42@gmail.
Yeah, okay, click the links for it. Bye.
Are there any links, John? I've
never put them on my page.
Are the links there?
My channel.
I haven't seen any. All this stuff John hasn't really put any links up there yet.
And do I have the rights to use your image, likeness, and voice in this video?
As long as I get 40% up front.
I don't make any money up front.
Well, when you get the money.
I get the money above and beyond any.
And that I can stay here and not be thrown out for the winter. And we're going to California. E-I-E-I-O.
Yeah, if I'm here or.
We're going to California. Just like Jed Clampett.
Yeah, click all the links. Here they are.
We are the Beverly Hillbillies.
Somewhere around
here.
Yep,
somewhere around there.
Okay, that's my video, and on there you can add the links later if you figure it out. You got to get a
Kmart sucks. Kmart doesn't even work. It's dead. Right. It's gone.
Later. Bye.
Yep.
Peace.
1 hour.
Bush, maybe.
Yeah, 1 hour, 29 minutes, and 12 seconds.
Bye.
Love you guys. So see you in the morning and tomorrow at 7 p.m. Do. Remember to meditate. Breathing in 20%.
There's a reason why I called him Bush when he took his clothes off.
Yeah.
You know?
What's the reason, John?
Because he would change clothes in a bush and nobody would see him.
Oh, I thought he had a bush. I thought he was a female. I thought both George H. and George W. were actually women and had women parts with a big bush. And Barbara was really a guy whose father was Aleister Crowley. You know, the guy who invented the Church of Satan was the mother of George W. So his grandfather was Aleister Crowley.
No.
Yeah. Okay, 1 hour, 30 minutes, and 13 seconds. We're counting down. I love you guys. Have a good night. Have a good day. I love the fact that you guys
live all the time.
Yes.
You want to do that?
Yeah, live all the time. Yeah, if we take a road trip, I want to do that.
I can get a